Hope you've all had a great day. Hope you all had a great weekend. Wanted to do a little blatant plug for our men and women in the armed forces and those who we have lost over the years in our wars. Memorial Day is always a special day for all of us, and especially those of us that served in the military. So just wanted to share one last image of Memorial Day. Hope you all had a good time with your families. Hope you all are doing well, holding up in this new environment. And want to dive in. Those of you that tune in regularly on Monday, thank you for allowing me to move it from our regular day to today. I think this is one time only. We'll be back to Monday next week. But a lot of really good information to share with you. Those of you who have been with us since week one, which I think was like the third week of, I think it was the Monday right after STIP was in place. And like those first 2 weeks, it was like nothing but bad news. But like I've always been privileged for a long time to teach and train agents and talk to them about the market. And I always said, there's no good news, there's no bad news, it's just news, and it's what you do with it. So I hope you've all had that in mind as we go through these numbers and what's going on in our markets. And luckily, the last 3 weeks has been a lot of good news, and I think that'll continue. But really, honestly, good news is just like bad news. What do you make of it? I can tell you the market is really, really great for sellers right now. I can tell you with a straight face and not speaking out of both sides of my mouth, it's a good market for buyers too, because we anticipate prices going up. We'll show you some of the numbers and some of the things that are pointing in that direction. And so this is one of those rare areas where you can say it's a good time for sellers, a good time for buyers. And it's not always the case. So let's jump in and let's start with one of my new favorite sites I've been sharing with you. This American Enterprise Institute's Flash Housing Market. One of the good things for a data geek like me in this environment has been a lot of the data aggregators have gone away from their weekly, quarterly, monthly reports and going to almost daily. And that's just a smorgasbord of information. And this is one of those sites. Every week, they're just putting out a ton of information on buyers, applications, and rate locks, which we've touched on. And it's been a really good indicator, again, for those of you that have been following us every week on how the market is moving week to week to week. And it's been really important. And I hope you've been taking advantage and sharing with your clients. I shared earlier today in the Intero Now that I know, because I deal with firsthand agents all day, all the time, that a lot of us are unsure and not really aware of what's going on in the market. So I can imagine for our clients, that's even more pronounced. And so more than ever, it's important that you understand, really get a really good understanding of what's going on and be able to answer the questions and concerns that our clients have. And then on the other side, I hope that empowers you and really confirms with you that the governor said it, and you should believe it. You're essential, you're needed. We're a powerful helper and driver in our local and state economies. And the kind of information you give and you share with your clients is really powerful in their personal economies. And so really want to encourage all of you to pay attention, learn, ask questions. As always, Carol's here with me. She'll be monitoring the Q&A. If something that we need to answer right away, she'll interrupt me and I'll try to answer it. If not, we're taking note and we'll respond and do this and respond to your questions later. All right, so if you've been reading behind me, here you go. The purchase market has achieved a striking degree of normalcy in the past couple of weeks, as evidenced by rate lock volume. And again, if you're new, we're measuring rate lock, which means they've been out searching, they've been pre-qualified, and now they found the one they like, they got into contract, and they locked their rate. That is the real measure of what the buyer activity is, and it's been going higher and higher and higher. In a remarkable turnaround, they write purchase rate lock volume for the week of May 11th, which was 1 week ago, was unchanged from a year ago, providing further evidence that the housing market may be stabilizing. This is nationwide. We'll drill down to more local numbers later. This is a real good general guide of what we're going to see in the next few weeks. Compared to the bumper start of the year, volume is still down, but the market has substantially improved from weeks 14 to 18. when the average weekly year-over-year decline was 15%. There are important regional differences across states, metros, and counties. Within some states, such as California or New Jersey, lower priced counties are doing better than higher priced ones in terms of rate lock volume. And that's always the case. We're in a really high priced area. When we drop fast and hard, but when we ride faster and harder. So always remember that. So you see less volatility in lower price zones. You see less volatility in some of our outlying areas in California. The Bay Area, big drop, big jump. Now I bring this up because within the Silicon Valley, you have areas like Palo Alto, which we'll show later, is like, what COVID-19? They're rocking like last year already. But in some of our lower price zones, some of our more southern and eastern markets in the Silicon Valley, they felt the pain a little more and they're rebounding a little slower. Because our clients generally look in multiple areas at once, it's really important for you to know that. You can be hot in your morning search and for the same client, be a little bit colder in your afternoon search. So be very wary, be very aware of what's happening. We're going to share that. We're going to break out at the end some distinct markets, some of our higher priced sub-markets in Silicon Valley to give you an idea of that volatility within micro markets. All right. So moving on, cash out refinance rate activity has decelerated from the prior week, but continues to run well above the pre-crisis period. Again, I've been following this. This has done a couple of things. You always want to look as agents, as realtors working with clients, the mix shift between refis, cash outs, and purchase loans. The market heats up, the market gets better, there's a lot of activity, the purchase rate percentage goes up, the refi goes down. Generally speaking, this is not scientific. Refis go up, people are staying in place. They're not going to sell. They're going to fix it. They're going to do other things, but they're not going to sell it. No one refis and then sells the house. I shouldn't say no one, but you get what I mean. So this is why I always take this. I shared in the past, we had a really big spike in cash out refis right around March 15th. And that was a real indicator of people's fear about what was going to happen. Oh my God, let me go get 30, 40, 50, $100,000 cash out of my home before I can or before I really need it. That has gone away. We had a massive spike and it was back into normal levels, still elevated, but that's more of a function of the massive amount of equity we have nationwide than any more fear in the public. That's important for you to know that. The fear, the uncertainty is going away. People are making more rational, thoughtful decisions about their properties and their future. So good for you to know. We need to emulate that and actually lead that as realtors talking to our buyers and sellers. So this is that slide I've been sharing with you that kind of demonstrates that. Here is 2020. If you can see my cursor, we were just motoring along, beating 2019 purchase rate locks. We felt that, we knew that, we saw that in the production in the markets. And then we had some market volatility in terms of rates from late last year through March. And then, of course, it dropped like a rock. And here we are, month and a half, 2 months later, we're back to 2020 purchase rate lock activity. Not back to where we were to the start of the year, but you can see the trajectory. Absent really pronounced changes like in Fed policy, rate cuts or things like that, or a pandemic, it's hard to make these move once they start moving in a direction. So I would anticipate, again, buyer activity by next month will be surpassing what we were the same month last year. And that's saying a lot, thinking about what we've been through. So again, get out there, talk to people, make sure you know first what's going on so you can give them really, really good information so they can make sound decisions with their housing choices. So buyers are back. They're harder to source, so you've got to be out there and work harder to find them. They're not static like a listing. They're everywhere and anywhere. And so it's our job to go out and talk to these people, educate them, and show them. I bet you did a man on the street poll and you said, are we taking out more loans this year than last? Almost anyone would say it's got to be way less. And here's the proof. It's not. We're back on par with last year. All right. This is a little drilling down a little bit further in California. That was nationwide. In California, we're rebounding nicely. The week over week change in mortgage applications in this case. These are not the locks. This is the lead indicator to the locks. Up week over week, 5.7% in California. The change week over week, the week ending May 22nd, up 11.6%. So this is where we are year over year. That number is still negative, but already almost on par statewide and going better and better and better. So if you didn't know the market was back, I'm telling you, the buyers and sellers knew before you. That should never happen. We're the experts, we're the pros. Let's get out there and let's talk to our clients and make sure they are aware of these things. If they're looking to buy, the competition is going to be growing week by week by week. We've had accelerating and growing prices all year long. That is not going to change in the near term as we bring more buyers into the market to look at the still limited number of listings we have available. So again, all in all, really, really good news. Really good information for you to have, internalize, and then share with your sphere. Here we see nationwide, I think also a very important point to look out for. It's back to normal or better in most of the country in terms of purchase rate lock. The worst performers are the hardest hit, first hit COVID-19 areas, especially New York and the Northeast here, Washington State, and California and Nevada, right? We should all understand Nevada is basically its economy is completely driven by tourism and the casinos, and that's been decimated. So we're a little more varied. We're a little more immune to some of these changes, but overall, we've still been hit hard. We're the hardest hit states in the country, but we've made it. We've got to this point, and the trajectory is positive moving forward. So good news all around. They shared this, and I really like that too. Again, if you start looking at regionally, price points, density, all start to play a factor in purchase rate locks and the activity that buyers are rejoining the market in. And so you see here, this is what we referenced earlier, outlying area, San Bernardino, I don't know where I got that from, Riverside, Kern County, they didn't fall as far, and their median price point is a little steadier. We got hit harder, and we bounced lower, but in historical record, that just means we bounced back further and higher. So again, all in all, really, really good information for you to have, to share with your buyers and sellers so they understand you're giving them good information. I'm going to bet that generally with a consumer, the kind of news that they're reading, the kind of news that they're taking in isn't positive. No one's going to say all these bad things are happening. But by the way, if you're a buyer or a seller, the market's great. So they're going to take the news that they have, which is generally bad, and transfer it to anything else in their life, including real estate decisions. So you've got to go in there strong. You've got to be positive. And you can only do that if you know these numbers. You're the key. Once you understand it, once you see how positive the news is, and you internalize it, then you're going to project that and help your buyers and sellers do a really, really good job this summer. Overall, again, home price appreciation dropped like a rock. It's coming back. It's not where we were. We're still trailing the national number, but this is really, really good positive news. Again, for buyers and sellers. The sellers are not going to have to give away their home and lose their equity. It's actually still rising. Buyers, the trend is the earlier you buy in this, the faster you start gaining the equity instead of paying the previous owner for their equity share. So again, understand these numbers, understand these charts. This is not you presenting it. This is national data. This is third-party sourcing that when you can share it, explain it, it's going to make you a more powerful advocate for your clients. They do a good job of this, breaking it out by metro areas. Unfortunately, they don't do Santa Clara County or San Jose specifically. They use San Francisco. I can tell you when you look at it, our numbers are actually looking a little bit better, but the trends are the same. Their home price appreciation really, really dropped the 13th through the 14th and 15th weeks of the year. Since then, has been in a strong and steady upswing, just breaking back into positive ground. I'm going to bet unscientifically, I would put Santa Clara somewhere in this range. We usually trend that much better than San Francisco. They're higher price point, they're a little more volatile. So we didn't drop as far, and we're back up higher sooner rather than they are. But again, really, really good positive news that I want to make sure you as realtors understand, and that everybody is out there sharing and spreading this message. A couple other things to understand. Not all buyers are equal. Here, they do a good job here of looking at the investor market nationwide, and that had a drop just like everyone else did, but they're not quite back. They're still far, far away from where we were in 2019 numbers. And that makes sense. It's a little bit different market for an investor. Second home, surprisingly, it's already past where we were this time last year. So know what story to tell, know what's going out there. Some of you contrarians like me will look at this and say, investors, this is your time. You're not going to have as much competition for the properties that are out there because there are fewer investors looking. It's all how you frame it and what your wants and needs are as a consumer or as a practitioner. But good information to share. Not all the data is equal. Everyone has different needs. Everybody has different wants. So I wanted to point this out. Second home is strong. Investors still weak. Self-employed, it's almost self-evident. We know that one of the first casualties of this COVID-19 in our industry was the tightening of the mortgage markets. The lenders were a little worried about who they lent their money to. And it stands to reason, if you're self-employed, you're going to be a little weaker in the eyes of lenders, and you're not going to be able to get as many loans or as big a loan. And so this makes perfect sense to me. So that doesn't mean self-employed people can't get a loan. That doesn't mean they can't buy homes. But if that's your client, if that's the person that you deal with, you might want to warn them. You might want to start earlier in your search to get pre-qualified and make sure you find the right programs, find the right rates before you jump in and find the property you like. So again, it's just good information to have, really knowledgeable for you and ultimately for the people you serve. In our market, in Bay Area, Silicon Valley, non-US citizens, foreign investors, again, really, really cratered, but it's coming back. Are you glass half full? Are you a glass half empty? If you're a glass half empty, it's like they're shying away, let's stay out. If you're glass half full, there's less competition. Let me go find my non-US borrowers and get them out looking and before everyone else comes back and drives the prices even higher. So it's just information, it's just data, it's what you do with it, right? So another thing I've been sharing you consistently is a great site. Mike Del Preti does a great job. He has access to tons and tons of data. So he's a great source for me to share with you. And what I really like is he's been looking at what's been going on in real estate markets in other countries, because I think it's been giving us a real look at what we might expect. Typically, our markets are different. Our economies are different. Our politics are different. There's so many things that are different. But the pandemic, the lockdowns, the limited access to properties has been very similar. And so following what has happened in China, in Italy, in England, when we can see timelines, we're not looking at valleys, we're not looking at anything like that, there's timelines. And we can see what happened in these countries, Netherlands, Sweden, UK, Italy, US, and then how did they rebound? Because generally they are hit with the pandemic first, they were hit with lockdowns first, and now they are back into the recovery periods first. So I think really, really good information for you to have, and also for your clients to have, so they can see this is not unique to Silicon Valley. The pandemic is universal, it's worldwide. How we reacted, we can look to markets that locked down and shut down like we did, and what happened to them. New listings crater, offers crater, searches crater. When they go through their licked in place, they flatten the curve, they start to reopen, they bounce back. We're right in there. And they don't have to wait to see what happens the rest of this month in June and July. You can look to Italy, you can look to China and see how their markets rebounded in aggregate. And they give us a real good indicator of what should happen here. So I won't read all of that to you. I just want you to know and understand that. They pulled out a couple of countries here, the UK and Italy, which like us, locked down completely, like us, went through this really rough period. And now like us, they're bouncing back. So really good things for you to understand. If you have doubts, if you have questions, how is this pandemic going to play out? What zone are we in now? Are we in the second phase, third phase? All those things are not blind to us. We can look to other markets to see how they've reacted, how they've recovered, and we're exactly on the same trajectory, which is all good news. Then we look into more local markets in the US, again, that would hit harder and reacted in different ways. Those that locked down quickly and those that have opened up and are recovering faster. And it'll show you a little bit of what we're doing and what we're seeing. We're probably somewhere in the middle of this. We're not as bad as Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. We haven't recovered as fast and as far as Detroit and Grand Rapids, but we're right around in this stage. And when we start looking at the numbers in a few minutes, you'll see exactly where we are. Again, if you're dealing with any doubts yourself about where we'll be as a market, as an industry in a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, I know when you talk to buyers and sellers, they're not asking you as much about last week. They're going to ask you, I'm thinking about selling in June or July or August. What can I expect, right? We don't have a crystal ball, but we have great indicators, and these are indicators for you. I wanted to include this. I hope you all read it. Pennsylvania, one of the first states to just say, we're back. Not only that we're essential, but they've almost fully reopened. Their market in real estate market has reopened, and they're doing it following certain steps, wearing the mask, wearing the PPE, reducing the number of people in offices, reducing the number of people in buildings that they're searching. But again, look for these nuggets out there. Everyone's on a different timeline. I know we're different markets, but where we're like in terms of how we dealt with the pandemic, these are really great indicators, not just for you as a practicing agent or lender or title rep in the industry, but ultimately the clients we serve. So you can give them a good idea of what to expect in the coming months. Another great site I like to share with you, Showing Time. If nothing else, it's really positive news when it's hard to find. And that is the real estate showings in California, almost all the way back. You can see over here on the left, we are plus 1.6%, the pre-pandemic peak. So everyone went away and they all came back, and they're out looking for properties. That is a really good indicator for your future buyers. That's a great indicator for your current and future listings. You can't sell something if there's not a demand. And I'm telling you, more importantly, I'm showing you the demand is there. So make sure you get out there and be part of it. We're still trailing last year at negative 6.6, but for the most part of this year, we were ahead of last year's pace. And if you factor out what we've gone through the last 50, 60 days and where we're trending to be back above last year's pace, in the next couple of weeks. So generally, June into July starts to be the end of our selling season and where we peak. Still a good market, still very busy. But what we've been telling you for the last couple of weeks is the market got pushed forward. Now what we've seen is not only did it get pushed forward, we've created a secondary selling season, and we're right at the start of it. So again, we'll show more of that in a second, but this is a great number, great thing for you to have to share with your clients so they can visually understand what's been going on in the market. A lot of bad news. Most of it is behind us. That doesn't mean the issues are gone. That doesn't mean the problems aren't there. That doesn't mean we don't have to be careful and smart and safe. But for the most part, as consumers and as practitioners, we've navigated around how to get by those obstacles and still transact. That's incredibly positive news. Give you an idea, again, to compare. If you've been paying attention to the news, every day, Governor Cuomo of New York comes out and gives what should be a statewide update, but it's a de facto nationwide update. And why is that important? Again, your clients, the people you're talking to, might be listening to Governor Cuomo. And I'm going to tell you, not hitting state against state, just looking at the facts, whatever they say, however bad it is there, we're not as bad here. However their recovery is going there, our recovery is going that much faster. In this very specific case, buyers are almost all the way back here in California, still lagging almost 50% below last year's numbers. All right. So again, just an idea. You've got to understand where the people you're dealing with and working with are getting the information. If they're more likely to be listening to national news, that's going to be skewed to the worst news. That's going to be skewed to New York and the Northeast, because those areas are trailing us in our recovery. Certainly, especially in the real estate market, which is what we're focusing on right here. So I'm not making any judgments. I'm not, again, pitting one state or one region against the other. I'm just trying to show you numbers. I'm trying to show you facts. So very positive news for us, and we're rooting for New York to get back to. All right, with that, I haven't spent a lot of time in these past weeks really talking about the pandemic itself, but I'd like to talk to you about leading indicators and lagging indicators. Here's something I wanted to point out. This is from Calculated Risk Blog, another site I recommend to you. And the author, Bill McBride, writes, "This is a healthcare crisis, and the economic outlook is based on presumptions about the course of the pandemic. Although social distancing clearly worked in slowing the growth rate of infections, many people have recently relaxed their guard, and COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are still rising in many parts of the country." And then he talks about how other countries have recovered. Why do I point this out? I'm telling you, it's all positive news, but the community, our clients, the public relies on us to be the experts. It relies on us not only to give them all the positive, not only to give them all the reasons why they should be out there looking, but also sharing with them some of the doubts, some of the issues. So I believe it's incumbent upon us is, yes, the outlook is really good right now, but we're paying attention over here. We're going to see if there's a future recurrence, if something else pops up, we might go back into these artificial drops. There's still real drops. I believe because we just experienced that and we've learned you can still transact, we'll be better equipped, but we should still be on a lookout. I use this chart here to show the test results per day. And what we're seeing is as the test results, number of tests per day grow, the percent positive drops, okay? So that is good news. That might be helping some people drop their guard. Understand, until we get a reasonable period where we see extended levels of this amount of testing, this is gonna be an unknown. Is it dropping because the virus is dissipating? Or is it dropping because we are testing way more people and we're just realizing the infection rate overall is that much smaller? So good news, good news, good news. Here's where I say, be sober about it. Understand we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our clients to talk about potential warnings. We can pay attention to this. We can watch this just like we watch movement in markets. We can watch how this is going. We know that the pandemic had a dramatic effect on our business, on our clients, starting March 15th. Now we know, have an idea of what to look for to see if it might happen. If it happens, how we can still perform and produce, right? I think that's the last bit of bad news I've got for you today. But I just felt I needed to start sharing some of this so that we don't get blind to good news, good news, good news, things only go up. We owe more than that to our clients and consumers, so let's pay attention to it. All right, going back to the local numbers. Again, if you've been watching us week to week, we've been trying to call what's gonna happen next. We talked about this peak and how it peaked much earlier than usual, and how these early year peaks usually create a drag and a slowing in our local markets, and we were spot on, right? Came early, started dropping after the peak, and still good numbers. Sellers are still being rewarded for going on the market. They're still getting what they asked for, but the lead and lag is starting to drag, and we need to be very careful about how we talk to the people that are trusting us with the purchase or sale of their homes, not be overly pessimistic, but also don't just be Pollyannish and say you can get whatever you want, you're a complete driver's edge. Still a strong, strong, strong seller's market any way you want to frame it, but not as strong as it was a month ago. That's important. That's really important. That's the difference between $10, $15, $30, $40,000 between a buyer and seller. The more you understand that, the better you can communicate to your clients, the happier they're going to be, and they're going to be well rewarded by following your advice. So again, not bad news in my opinion. It's still great news, but this is not our market anymore. We're here. This is a great market, okay? This is going back to last year's again, just to reinforce the trends are always there. Numbers don't lie. Unless there's something massively happening to affect our conditions, we do the same thing every year, cycle after cycle after cycle. And now we're back in one of these mini cycles of peak and drop, all still positive. Even in 2019, when it dropped below 100% list to sales price ratio, still a fantastic market. Prices still maintained or grew, and so everyone was happy. The buyers that purchase here and here are really happy with what their value is here, right? So that's what you can look forward to going, certainly for the next quarter or so. All right, so digging a little deeper into the numbers, overall, everywhere is good. We're recording this if you want. I think we're getting better at this, so I don't have to dig into each number. I'll give you the big parameters, and then we'll make it available to you so you can dig in and understand it. But from new listing, pended, sold, all positive. I want to spend as much time on the county data because I want to get to the city data. The county data is all positive, I can tell you that. All right, so here we go with the AccuList information. That again, I really stress enough. They update it every day. They look every day. You have to look at it at least once a day. It's not too much to ask. It's part of your job. It's part of your business, and it really helps you identify these trends because they're doing it every single day. So, what is a trend? Well, here we go. The big ones for me: the cancel withdrawn almost don't matter anymore. We're back to where we were before. If they're canceling and withdrawing, it's probably not for COVID or anything like that. It's something else, right? Things that we're used to, things that we've dealt with before. So this spike was very short, happened, gone. Sellers stayed away, buyers maintained. But here's what we see with the sellers. Massive drop and then steady gains. And now we're back to almost where we were for new listings pre-COVID, right? So imagine again, this is November, December, January, and now we're into our early selling season. Listings are going higher and higher and higher. More importantly, on solds, didn't have an immediate drop. They were already committed. After the first couple of weeks after COVID, the steady place, it did start to steadily decline, but now that too has rebounded and is back on the upswing. Don't be too concerned about the gap here. That is normal. No one would say that February, March were bad markets, and this is normal. New listing to actual solds. Sold is a trailing indicator to new listings, right? And so this is, as you see new listings grow, if you don't see the solds grow, that's a problem. So we wanted to see this. We weren't worried after 3 or 4 weeks, but we were aware of it. Now this is like, take a deep breath. The buyers are back. We got the sellers back in the market. Our inventory is growing, and sellers are joining the party. I'm sorry, buyers are joining the party, maintaining these ratios, maintaining the balance so that we don't get properties staying too long on the market and eventually affecting values. So all really good positive news again. Staying mindful of this hidden inventory that I talked about. These were people that were going to list in March, in April, in May, and for a lot of reasons, they said no. We were wondering how soon and in how many numbers would they come back. Again, I'm staying positive. I think this is healthy. I think we can maintain this kind of growth, but does this backlog hit us in a wave in a week or 2 weeks? I don't think so. I think the ratio of adding new listings is healthy, getting us back to keeping us at a balanced market to protect values for homeowners in the Bay Area. In the long term, again, it's great for the buyers. They are having to pay a lot, but that's just a fact of life in Silicon Valley. But they should be buoyed by the fact that even this did not drop values in Silicon Valley. So they can still be really aware that if they're able to and they have the desire to, they can buy these properties at these prices, and it's still a great investment. If the fact that the prices didn't drop after this doesn't convince them, I don't know what to tell you. But overall positive. It's hard to buy it. It's expensive. Yes, still a great investment. Don't touch too much on this. Gaining slowly after losing our early selling season. If this new secondary selling season keeps it growing, we might be back close to 2020 numbers. Cross your fingers. But we're going to deal with the market that we're given. So we don't control it. We just work in it. TFTs, boom, flat. Canceled, way back down, almost to normal. Withdrawn, still elevated, but recovering very, very nicely. So real quickly, new homes listed, nice recovery, getting back to 2020 numbers. 2019 numbers, even surpassed it last week. So good signs. So listings, again, after an initial dip and a steady decline week over week, back to positive, back to growth. 1 week never makes a trend, so I'm anticipating going with good numbers again next week and seeing that the new listings are the lead indicator for the solds, and all good news for us. Change contingent, again, there's a steady growth. Positive sign for the market, very healthy market. Change to pending, same thing. Trend is going straight up after the initial drop. And then getting into the markets that I promised you, some of our highest price, another way to say most desired locations within Silicon Valley, Saratoga, Willow Bend, Los Gatos, Campbell, Cupertino, Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, Cambrian, and Almaden Valley. I believe I put them in order of median sales price, but I wanted to give you a real visceral picture of what a countywide, a region-wide number looks when you break it down into specific areas. So again, November, December, normal trends. Everything was great. 2019 was a good year. Normal trend, we dropped to our lowest in new listings, and then just had a red hot start to January, February. March 15 hits, and the bottom fell out. Except for, I'm colorblind, so somebody will have to help me. The brown one, I don't know which one that is. That one fell and has still not recovered, but everywhere else is close to flat or growing. Carol told me it's Sunnyvale. Santa Clara, sorry. So that's not rebounded. But if you're in the Santa Clara market, again, that's a micro market. The general trend is that the new listings are coming up, right? So go talk to the sellers in that area, because I'm going to show you later, buyers are hungry for Santa Clara. So it's incumbent upon us to go and educate the sellers in Santa Clara that this is an anomaly. The rest of the market is going back out, going to market, and getting rewarded for it. And this is what I'm talking about, the absorption rate. Again, I like to use absorption rate because days on market is a measure of how long our active inventory would last if we took no new listings, right? And the rule of thumb, 5 to 6 months or more is a buyer's market, 5 to 6 months or less is a seller's market. Well, we've been working in this market since 2012, and nothing lasts 5 or 6 months. So how can we use that as a measurement? How can we talk to our clients and say, oh, it's a seller's market. It's less than 5 months. Really? Absorption rate is the inverse of days on market. It is how fast do the buyers take the available properties. That really shows the appetite, the condition of the buying public in a given market, regardless of how many properties are available to sell, okay? And so here again, you see we dipped late in the year, had a really fast start, really high numbers, and then had that dramatic drop, and every single one of them is popping up, right? And so this is what I mean. If you are in a zone that is not quite rebounded in new listings, not going up as fast as other areas, I'm telling you, the buyers are waiting for you, sellers. They're saying, please, please list. Please put your house on the market. We will buy it. We understand the conditions on the market right now. We will reward you with a great offer. So again, I think powerful, impactful visuals to show both buyers and sellers how dramatically improved the market is. We have done a great job. I'm going to pat ourselves on the back as an industry. We didn't panic overall. We didn't go away. We stood firm and we stayed out there, and we did a great job of educating the public about what's going on in the news in real estate. And it's been great news, and it's going to continue. All right, the weekly numbers here. Inventory rising steadily in both classes, single family and condos and townhomes. That's great. We took a hit early. We're back on. And again, a reminder, don't get it in your head that there's nothing for sale. We're back to numbers we're used to. 19 was a little elevated, but at this time, in 2017, we only had 995 actives, a single family. This time in 2018, we only had 1,003. So man, 1,078, that's glorious. That's amazing. So it's all in your perspective. It's all in the how you wake up and view your condition every single day. Forget for a moment what happened in terms of inventory March 15th to 16th. If you were in a coma and you woke up, it's like, yeah, no problem. 1,000 single families, 800, 500 condos and townhomes. I can sell that. That's good news for my sellers. That's great news for my buyers because that shows an appreciating market. Everything is really, really good. If there's one caution, and again, I like to be pragmatic. I'm generally hopeful and I'm optimistic. But again, I feel it's my duty to, if I see a headwind, to point it out. And if we have one, it's here, right? We're seeing, I'm calling it 2020 version 2.0, a new selling season just started, just underway. Active listings are rising at a faster rate versus the start of the year compared to pendings. This is normal. Inventory precedes pendings. They can't sell what's not for sale. It seems simple, but it's a great indicator for you as a professional and for your clients about what's going on in the market. We had an early start to the selling season. It actually started in November of last year, ended March 15th, literally, and now it's back, right? We're not ending the selling season. We're starting a second selling season. You're all seasoned. You all know what that means. You should be out there talking to buyers and sellers about this. Fantastic news, right? We did not have the benefit of our normal rhythms, but you need to know this now, right? And here's the only negative that I see. The year-over-year changes in active and pendings, flat year-over-year. So that's good. That maintains a balance in the market. It's positive overall for prices and values. If there's any issue, is that these keep trending apart week after week. I've been pointing out at least the last 4 weeks now. It's not yet enough to make a difference in price, but perhaps slowing appreciation, okay? Not a drop in prices. This is 2019 again, where we slowed appreciation as inventory rose, pendings kept going up, but not as fast as they had been, so it felt like it slowed down. It felt like properties were lasting on the market. It felt like properties were selling for less than they had been. They never did. 9 months into that kind of flattening, median price dropped, but that's because the higher price homes came off the market. They never have to sell. So if they're not getting their number, they pull out. So watch for this in the coming weeks, I would say. Not this week, but I'd say by mid-June. If this continues to trend, we will still have positive growth in equity. It just might decelerate a little bit, okay? In this time, I think we're all gonna be sensitive to bad news. So generally, I wouldn't make such a big issue of this because I think overall it's still good news, but I don't want to see a slowdown, a deceleration of appreciation, and then be taken in the context of all this bad news, like, oh my God, here we go, it's gonna collapse, all right? So that's our job. We need to understand that, we need to communicate that, and we need to comfort our buyers and sellers. We're looking way ahead. They will know well in advance if there's any real issues, okay? That's the only reason I bring this up. Watch it, keep watching it. We started paying attention 4 weeks ago. It hasn't changed. We will keep watching it. I'll tell you when I think prices are gonna be affected. Far, far away from that, okay? All right, I'll send you San Benito if you like it. Here's what I wanted to focus on starting, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go to, what time is it? All right, perfect. I'm almost on time. So the numbers I'm going to show you for individual cities are all positive. So you can say they're all positive for Santa Clara County. Nobody buys Santa Clara County. They buy in localities. They buy in neighborhoods. So that's why I want to spend a little more time today than I have in previous weeks, focusing down on city and premier MLS areas within Santa Clara County so you can understand this better, okay? I share this every week. The trends overall year over year, these are scary if it's the first time you see it, but we're in it. The water's fine. Come on in. Lower inventory. We get it. You can't have dramatically increased pendings if there's nothing to sell. So lower year over year, we get it. What's important, as I always stress in these heat maps, is what is the trend week to week. You don't want to see massive drops. You don't want to see massive gains. So all of the numbers are all red, and although it shows lower transactional history compared to last year, if you're in that buyer or seller, there's an equilibrium. And that's what's most important. I'm a buyer. I like your house. Guess what? I'm going to have to pay for it. It doesn't matter that the overall numbers are lower. If new listings that stayed up here and pendings were all double-digit red, we'd have a problem. If new listings were way down here and pendings were going through the roof, I don't know who could afford these houses. But don't let all the red on the map fool you. It's been dropping at almost equal levels. I did point out in the previous slide, there is starting to be a little slippage, and that's what we're watching for. But nothing new here. Just a smaller market, just a smaller pie. All right. This is what I was talking about earlier. Palo Alto is like, what's COVID-19? Listings are up, pendings are up, but this is always true of Palo Alto. We know this. It shouldn't surprise us. It's just a magical market. You can never go wrong in Palo Alto. But I always say real estate values in Silicon Valley have gravity. What I mean by that, great at the top of the peninsula, and it starts to slip as we move down south and to the east. So these are great indicators. When we see our peninsula neighborhoods bounce back so strongly, that is great, great news for us lower down in the peninsula. We may have to wait a week or 2 weeks for our numbers, but again, always a great indicator for understand. If you work in Morgan Hill, look at Palo Alto and you should be rejoicing. Why? Because that will transfer down to you in the coming weeks. That will transfer down into your market. So take heart, your market is still strong, and the positive signs up higher on the peninsula at the higher price points are really good lead indicators for you. And this is why I always like to share it. All right, and here's where I go. Listings are down in Morgan Hill and Gilroy all the way polar opposite of Palo Alto, but the pendings are nice. Flat in Morgan Hill basically over here, and Gilroy, God bless it, so they're like, I'm in. I want Gilroy. Give me some Gilroy. So great, great, great news. All right. I almost feel like I'm faking it tonight because everything is positive, but it's true. So it's a great change from when we started, right? San Benito, same thing. Market looks healthy going forward. Don't be seduced by the red on the map. It's all relative. You know what? I'm going to skip this part. I put it out of order, and here we go. So, all right. So Saratoga, what's going on in Saratoga? So what do we look here? For sale, sold, pending. Look at the trends, look at the market, what's going on. What do we usually expect from April 19th to May? This is what usually happens. What is actually happening? Pendings up 500%. Law of small numbers, right? From 3 to 18, but my goodness, that is a trend to hang your hat on. Listings up 48%. What does that mean? So if listings are up 48% and pendings are up 500%, that's showing you some real push by buyers to get into that market. That is a great story to tell to sellers in Saratoga who may have been like, I don't know what's going on. I live in an incredibly nice neighborhood. I've built tons of equity in my property over the years. I'm not going to give it up because I listed during COVID-19. You're not going to, right? Don't watch the news. Listen to your real estate expert. That is a great local indicator, leading indicator for the next several weeks for sure in Saratoga. And that's why I wanted to share it with you. Sold is a lagging indicator. This is how buyers were feeling 30, 40, 60 days ago. This is how buyers are feeling right now, okay? That number will pop. These pendings will close, and in June, we'll be like, oh my God, look at the solds in Saratoga. That's 30 days too late if you're in this business. You know how fast it moves. You don't want to give them 30-day-old news. You want to tell them, here's what's going on the next 30 days. List to sales price ratio is still strong. They're still getting what they're asking for. Is it weakening? Yes, but remember, This doesn't mean the price dropped. This means they only got 1% over what their last comparable got. It's a positive number. It's growth. Okay, so don't be misled by the dips. Prices in Saratoga didn't fall when they were at 93% list to sales price ratio. It's a continuum. It builds upon itself. The absorption rate, here we see, dropped all the way down at 13%. That is that is a buyer zone. All right. Guess what? You missed your shot. It's back up in the seller zone, 50.5%. So if we were to, this is through the 24th of May. So that's going to be right around here. One of the hottest markets, one of the hottest buyers market in the last 19 months. Only 2 months surpassed it. All right. If you're looking to buy in Saratoga, limited inventory, be ready to find the one you like, move fast, write aggressively, and win. If you're a seller, they want your house. They want your home. They're going to pay a really good market rate. No COVID-19 discounts, far from it, okay? And this is why I love to share this really local information. Oh, I put in my junior graphics designer, put it in. This is what it's going to look like when the numbers are reported 12 or 15 days into June and say, oh my God, May was amazing. We know this. We want to know soon. We want to know first, not after. Doesn't do you any good after. All right. Los Gatos, same kind of story. For sale up 48%. Oh, that's cool. That's nice. Nice to get some inventory back. Look at the buyers. 127% jump the first 24 days in April compared to the first 24 days in May. You want to buy in Los Gatos? Guess what? You've got a lot of competition. That is a good thing. That is, you want to start your investment in Los Gatos now, not in a month, not in 2 months, certainly not in a year or two, right? So tune out the bad news. Go reach out to someone that's an expert in Los Gatos and show them these numbers and say, I love that house. I don't know when Illinois is going to come on the market because listings are coming back, but not at the pace that the buyers are rushing in. So let's go get it. Great, great move. And you sellers are going to be rewarded. Same trends, right? List to sales price ratio rising. Absorption rate, again, borderline neutral market here, moving right back into the seller's zone, 40.4%. Yeah, the graphic there. So again, one of the highest we've seen over the last 15 plus months. Fantastic news if you're in Los Gatos, in the market to buy something or in the market to sell something. And if you're a realtor working with clients in Los Gatos, you have to have these numbers. You have to have these forward-looking numbers. I wanted to motivate you and excite you to get out there on the phone, via social media, talk to these clients. You're going to give them really great news. They're going to be really grateful that you reached out. Cupertino, I'm going to go fast here because it's basically the same story. Every single one of our major zones in Santa Clara County, same thing here. For sale here, outpacing the growth in Pendant, but that's a strong number. We can sell that. What does that relate to in list to sales price ratio? 97%. There's a little indicator, right? Again, this does not mean there's a 3% off sale going on in Cupertino. That means the gains made in January, February, and March are still going to put this number in May and in June way over year, indicating rising prices, all right? So really important you learn to understand what these numbers mean. Don't go write 97% of the list price on your next offer in Cupertino. You will be really disappointed, okay? Absorption rate, this is where the magic happens. Drop down to 76.2. That is an incredible seller's market, right? Where are we now? 135. Boom, back in there, right? So you had a small window to not pay 10% over asking price in Cupertino. We're back, okay? And this is forward-looking information. These are trends that you can follow. This is typical for the selling season. It goes up and up and up, and then it falls. In a typical season, we would have peaked around here and dropped. This is our second selling season. I forgot to mention that in the others. So this is that double hump that we're going to encounter for the next, certainly for the next month, certainly through June. But tune in, we'll track it for you, and we'll tell you how long it's going to last. So you can always be ahead of the curve, given the best information possible to your buyers and sellers, okay? Don't be afraid to tell a buyer it's going up. That is more reason to buy now at today's prices, because they start to gain equity the second they step into the house. Every day, every week in this environment that they're not the homeowner, they're paying someone else's gain in equity, not gaining it themselves, okay? That's a positive message. Maybe I'm crazy, but they are the ones that want to buy into this market. Help them start gaining the equity themselves sooner, faster. Sunnyvale, another fantastic performer, kind of like Cupertino. The for sales are coming back faster. Pendants still super strong. So something's going on in Cupertino and Sunnyvale. The sellers are reacting faster than the buyers. But as we talked about earlier, new listings is a leading indicator to pendings, which is a leading indicator to closings. How do we see that going forward with this kind of numbers? What's the absorption rate? Drop down to 75, back up to 123, right? So what did the market feel like if you were in Sunnyvale in December, January, February? That's how it's going to feel like for the next 4 weeks for sure, probably 6 to 8 weeks. Beyond that, because we monitor every week, I don't have to prognosticate further than that. It's a good market, great market. Almaden Valley, kind of the same thing. Big jump in listings, 184%, 81% in pendings for the same period in the previous month. List to sales price ratios, again, a little more volatile, popped up back up to 100% month to date, but it's growing and it'll probably finish the month over that. And then again, the absorption rate, why do I say will it finish faster than that? Because these absorption rates are rising. To give you an example of how to read this, March finished at 130, and by the end of April was down to 58. By the 24th day in April, that 103 was down to 105, and it kept trending down to the end of the month. Now we start at 58 in first day of May. We're trending back up to 69, and this is what by the end of the month, I'm betting we'll finish in the 70 to 80% range. It's getting hotter day by day, week by week. And I don't just mean literally, all right? This is the market we're in. Willow Glen, how much time do I have? Oh man, I'm gonna be right under the gun to finish on time. So Willow Glen, again, same thing, 150%, listings are coming back on, great job. Realtors going out there and talking to your sellers. They're gonna be really super happy with you because those buyers are back in force too. Almost doubled, 66% gain in the same period relative to April. List to sales price ratio is dropping. Again, this does not indicate that it's 3% off. That just means the gains have slowed, but they're still going to get more than the comparable did the previous month. Unless you drop down into the mid 80s, that's how low a number it takes to draw those values down. That's a whole other class. You're going to have to trust me on that, okay? But don't get scared by this number. That's still a positive, especially when I show you the absorption rate, because all of you can guess what's happening next, right? Drop down to 50 after the highs of the early year, pop back up to 88. Again, same idea, trending up. It's not going to finish at 88. It's going to finish to 9,200. Again, one of the hottest markets in the last 15 plus months. Campbell, same story, all right? I don't have a bad story to tell you the rest of the night. Everything is positive. It's a great environment for your sellers. It's a great environment for your buyers. It's not always that you can say that as a straight face. When we, as realtors, say that, we just sound like used car salesmen, but it's absolutely true. I hope the numbers I'm sharing with you tonight are really solidifying that it is a true statement. Great market for sellers, great market for buyers. We understand all the issues. We understand all the risk. We've mitigated that as much as possible. We've done a fantastic job as an industry, as a company, as individuals in talking to, working with, and helping buyers and sellers. And I think the public is showing that trust in our abilities by coming out full force. So I missed it here. 246% jump in listings in available properties. Almost a 50% jump in pended. What does that mean? In the absorption rate, positive. Everything is up. I couldn't find a market that was down. They're not all Sunnyvale. They're not all Cupertino of rising into that triple digits, but these are pricey areas. So 1, 2, 3% differences in a month over month is a lot of money. And those are really important decisions that these consumers need to make, hopefully with your guidance and the information that you share with them. Santa Clara, same story. Massive jump in listings. Trailing, pendings are trailing, but they're coming on strong. We'll be back in the game, going down from 68% to 87%. Fantastic sellers market. I think this is the last one, and I hope so, because after I started my Zoom calls at 6 a.m. and I think my voice has said that's enough. I quit. So let's get through it. 74% jump in pendings, lagging indicator to the leading indicator of jumping available listings. Great news in Cambrian as well. Fantastic start to the year. This will recover and grow. It's not on sale. Appreciation slightly slowed down. It's going to hop right back up once we start recording closings because this pendings and absorption rates are going way, way up. 126%. All right. So I made it. I didn't faint. I didn't die. A lot of fun. Great to share good news with all of you. I hope it was helpful. I don't know if there's any questions. The San Mateo County update. I have started. I shared the heat maps earlier. I've been recording Santa Clara County data since 2007. Every day, not every day, every Monday, week over week over week. I've only recently started to add San Mateo County data. I can go back real quickly. I'm going to share with you what's starting next week. I will be able to share this week over week information compared to previous years for San Mateo. It's going to take a little more time to get the heat maps. And as far as these trend graphics figures, currently I don't have access to San Mateo County, but that's honestly just a push of a button. I think I was talking to our CEO and he would like to expand to Silicon Valley, not to Santa Clara County. So I think he'll okay my expense of adding San Mateo County data. So if he's not listening, don't tell him. Okay, he's on the call. I'm in trouble now. But honestly, hopefully, it is really good information. It's really actionable information to drop in the bucket to share knowledge with our agents and our clients. So I don't think Brian would have a problem with it. I'll take the slap on the wrist now if I'm wrong. But I'm going to go on a limb and say that he would okay it, he'll approve it, and then we'll be able to share this kind of information in San Mateo County. I hope you're asking for it because you see how valuable it will be for your business and for your clients in San Mateo County. So I'm looking forward to sharing it with you, hopefully as soon as next week. What's happening in the secondary market of loans? So another hour-long class, someone asked what's happening in the secondary market of loans. It got turned off about 60 days ago. The servicers, investors got really skittish about buyers' ability to repay, especially if they were on either end of the spectrum. Problem, risk buyers, lower credit scores, not as much history, and believe it or not, higher earning, especially 1099 employees where it's seasonal or incomes can fluctuate. A jumbo market, to put a broader view on it, also retracted. So we were left with that piece in the middle. They're starting to reopen. They're seeing the good news too. They're still not only this, they're paying attention to the unemployment numbers. They're paying attention to GDP. And like any market, any investor, it's not the bad news that drives them out of a market. It's uncertainty, right? So when COVID hits, lockdowns come in, it's not per se that it's bad news. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen next. How do I know whether to gamble $1 million, 900,000, 1.2 on you, Mr. Buyer, in that kind of loan? As that uncertainty starts to ebb and dissipate, they're a business. Just like a McDonald's is opening back up to business, just like a Starbucks is opening up back to business, once they understand the situation, once they can mitigate risk, Secondary lenders are going to do the same thing. I did not verify, but I heard in headlines that a couple of secondary players have moved back into non-QM. Haven't verified it, so don't quote me on that. But believe me, they'll let you know as soon as that happens. Shameless plug, our partner at Prosperity Mortgage never left. They've always been there and they're going to be there. So if there's any question, I teach this all the time to our realtors. Go to where it's solid. There's little to no fluctuation, and you'll always be safe. You can always look from there. But if you're starting out on the fringes, it can be difficult. So secondary markets, gone basically, coming back. And as we start to see this good news, they will come back more and more and more into the market. All right, that's it. All right, thank you, everybody. Hope you had a great day, and thank you for joining us. And hopefully we'll be back next Monday with some more great information for you. But I really encourage you to go out there, get back on the horse, go out there, talk to buyers and sellers, spread the good news. That's going to help the entire local economy. We can play a really important role here. So take it seriously. What you do is important. Go out and get it done. All right. Good night.